All right, so we have if you're new to the podcast, it's not a very special guest. But if you're not new to the podcast, we have a very special guest today, and I need Anthony to stall for me while I pull up my media and my sounds because I was not prepared. Okay, here I go. Ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, for a limited time only.
Our guest.
It is Trey fucking Seville. He is back, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause.
Special.
Yeah, that's true.
Special guest.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But you're definitely more special to the old audiences, the real throwbackers. You know.
Is there like an audience divide?
Yeah, there's pre-Trey leaving and post-Trey leaving, and the audiences are very different. They're very different
timelines. Yeah,
it's a much better audience now, I'm sure.
Before we get started, I have to just say one thing real quick. Hang on. Oh fuck, I fucked this up. This is very important, so we can't start until I do this because this is the only statement I'm going to make before we start the podcast.
Okay.
That's why he's there with me. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
That's all I have to say before we get started.
Is that supposed to be about Eminem?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think the original post was about LeBron James. If I could be wrong on that.
Well, I mean, it should be because he is.
There's too many goats. Too many goats out there.
There are too many goats.
Dogs, am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We got a very special episode of Totally Biased Music today. It's Blake, Anthony, and Trey. And today we are talking the Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grâce, released last week, out on all streaming platforms. If you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. Pause before you listen to the podcast and go listen to it. It is my pick, and I picked it. Obviously, if you listen to the podcast, you know, huge stan over here. If you follow me on Instagram, massive stan. I did block Trey and Anthony upon release night so I could get my slew of posting done, and they couldn't see it to save for the pod. So what I want to do is let's launch into it, and then I want to hear your guys' listening experience, your takes, and then we'll get to me, and I got some theories on the album. But before we get into it, I want to say so it reached number 1 in 81 countries this weekend. It was streamed, I think, 65 million times. It's projected to sell 300,000 copies in its first week. So one of the most successful albums since the Marshall Mathers LP2. It's been widely regarded as his best in the last 10 years. Critics-wise, we'll get into that later, not so much, but fan-wise, very much fan service here. But Trey, you had a different experience. You disagree. So I want to hear about your first listening experience and why you're not so much a fan of the Death of Slim Shady.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, of course.
All right, that's fair.
Blake needs ammo. Blake needs ammunition.
I know. Earlier I was gonna be like, I'm not going first. Blake goes first, and I go last.
Right?
But
No, I want to hear.
It's y'all's podcast. I respect that. I do what you ask. I'm a good little boy. So here's the deal, man.
How did you listen to this?
Okay, so how did I listen to this? So Friday was, as we were texting about a little bit, Friday was like one of the biggest music drops that I can remember in a while for me personally. Fish came out with a new album for the first time in 4 years, so not that long. Lotus came out with their first album since their percussionist died,
right,
and since they got a new guitar player. Billy Strings came out with his first ever live record. And SES9 came out with a live record from Red Rocks for last year. So I had things to do before. Yeah, packed today. Packed, as me and Blake were talking about, big day for white people.
Yeah,
white people
huge for white guys.
Huge. Big day for the jam
Make sure
band.
we're talking about the right day, Friday, not Saturday.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
We're not talking about that.
Yeah. Saturday, not we're just gonna skip over that, I imagine. So Friday, so I had to get through a lot of those records before I listened to Eminem. So, just not gonna divert from the topic at hand, but I will just say that the Fish record is excellent, really, really good studio Fish. Lotus also really good, pretty vibey. SCS9, like all of these like positive, kind of like put you up on a cloud, nice little You know, it's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I'm riding around the road. I'm going into the mountains. I'm listening to all this beautiful jam music. And then I'm like, all right, well, we're doing this Eminem album. I guess I got to start listening to that. I wasn't opposed to it. You know me. You know me for a long time, Blake. You know, I like Eminem.
Yeah.
Let me actually change that. I liked Eminem.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay.
This album made me think about my fandom for Eminem and root it down to the base of like, why did I like Eminem and what does like liking Eminem say about me as a person? That's how bad I thought this album was.
Okay.
Wow.
I get that it's like this whole concept album of like he's killing Slim Shady, he's killing off these bad parts of himself. You know, that's like in this like dream state that he's in. But the fact of the matter is, I feel like it's one of those things, and I actually used to do this when I was like in my early 20s. And Blake, I think I remember you actually getting mad about it a couple times, where I would say something really mean or like really critical of someone, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I'm just kidding." Like that's what this whole album feels like. This album feels like someone who like is just like a huge piece of shit asshole, and then at the end of whatever it is that they're doing, they're like, "Aha, it's a joke. I'm just joking with you." Like
That's fair.
Let me pull up my numbers here. So hold on.
Numbers
second.
for what?
Numbers for tracks. So out of the tracks on the album, 10 songs are him being Slim Shady, him saying horrifically offensive shit, him complaining about cancel culture and whining about how the whole world's against him because he essentially made his living off of saying edgelord shit, right? And then you have 5 songs of him being the real Eminem. You have one, like, I don't really know where Houdini falls in the concept here. Like, I feel like he's still
I think Houdini's more of a Slim Shady song than it is an Eminem song. That's kind of how I took it.
I would agree with that as well. I think there's a couple bright spots. I think the brightest spots are when Eminem's not rapping. And I think that, like, this shtick is just kind of old for me. I think, like, in this day, like, not like this day and age necessarily. It's just, like, it's kind of, like, are you really – how old is Eminem? 48?
52.
52. Eminem is a 52-year-old man complaining about cancel culture. And that's essentially what he does the entire record, in my eyes. It feels like an opportunity for him to be able to get all these things off of his chest and still be able to say that, like, I'm just kidding, I've changed thing at the end. But I don't think that Slim Shady's dead. I think Slim Shady is who Marshall Mathers is at his core.
That's fair. So before Anthony goes, I want to tell you guys a theory I had listening to this. Let me pull up Spotify real quick. So it's funny you say that because I believe it's in Habits that he essentially says, it may not be in Habits and I don't have the lyrics pulled up, but he essentially says like, you know, I feel the need to make these comments and then go apologize after, which essentially has been what he's done for the past like 10 years, right? Like he's made some offensive things, but then kind of walks it back and says, you know, whatever he needs to say. So the way that I interpreted the album listening to it is like, I don't think any of these thoughts are new or are recently written. Like the fact that there's Caitlyn Jenner lines in here, like Caitlyn Jenner transitioned like, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Right.
I think he talks about Caitlyn Jenner on 6 different tracks.
Yeah. And
6 tracks.
I think like to me, the way that
just for a second.
Yeah. The thing that I took from it was that like he wrote these lines, a lot of these lines over the course of the past 10 years. And the thing is I know that you're saying he's complaining about cancel culture and it is like, I'll say like, I love the album, spoiler alert, but like, I kind of was like, all right, man, I get it. Like you're upset. Right. But at the same time, he's not wrong in the sense that like when Houdini came out, there were people all over the internet livid about the Megan Thee Stallion line. When 2 years ago, people were really upset about Love the Way You Lie, because I guess they had gone back and listened to it. You know, like there are definitely instances where people are overly upset and mad about the things that he's saying. So I don't think his idea of like cancel culture existing is like a thing that he has made up. I think that there are people that are mad about it. Has he exaggerated it? Absolutely. But I think that like basically the last 10 years he's felt, I can't say this because this is going to be the reaction. And the Death of Slim Shady is kind of like, these are the lines I've written. These are the thoughts I've had. I'm just going to put it out there. If this is what happens, this is what happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, you know? And that's kind of how I took it. But I absolutely understand what you're saying. And that has been the main gripe of the album is like, bro, no one's trying to cancel you. Like, what are you doing? Like, relax.
Bro, you're like if you're not a billionaire, you're about close to it.
Right,
Like,
right,
what
exactly.
What are you so upset about? The Caitlyn Jenner thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, like, I don't mean to attack you personally here, Blake, but I do have a question for you. You get upset about Dave Chappelle talking about trans folks like all the time. You're like, dude, shut the fuck up, right? Like that's kind of the gripe you have about Dave Chappelle.
That's true.
Do you have a similar complaint about? I mean, Eminem, like on all those tracks, is making like relatively trans derogatory comments, but also just like no one in the trans community gives a fuck about you, dude. And you're talking about Caitlyn Jenner, who that community does not particularly care for.
Yeah.
And six different tracks. Like, you wrote a song about your daughter when you die, and like the best you could muster up was, times are gonna feel bad when it's rainy outside because I loved you so much and now I'm dead. But you could come up with like 14 different analogies about Caitlyn Jenner's like previously having a dick.
This is my gripe about, in reference to the Dave Chappelle thing. I will tell you, when I listened to it, like after I got to like, I don't know, the fourth song where he referenced Caitlyn Jenner, I was like, all right, like we could maybe throw in some other trans people or make fun of other people, right? Like I was kind of tired out of it. The difference with Dave is like, Dave has been doing it for 6 years, and Eminem did it in an album. So
that's a very fair point. I will. Yeah, that is
so not to say that like I wasn't annoyed by it, but like I genuinely, and people may be upset about this, and you may disagree with me, Trey, but I don't think Eminem genuinely believes any of the stuff he's saying, apart from the hating fat people thing. I think he hates fat people for sure, because Road Rage, he sounds like genuinely mad, but the other songs,
it's all the song is about. It's not like the other where everyone can kind of get it. He's like, nah, for real though,
no, for real, fuck fat people. But like, I don't think, like, I think he, like, to him it's funny, and I don't think I mean, like, we're kind of all in that. I mean, me and Christian more so than you guys, but like, we make jokes about stuff that we may not, like, if somebody were actually being derogatory in a real way, we'd be like, all right, man, like, that's not really funny. But if we're making a passing comment, we find it funny. And I think that's kind of the commentary of the album, is like, what is the line, right? Is it okay to make a joke and be actually, like, one of Eminem's daughters is non-binary, which I think a lot of people don't know that. And I think it's funny, the pronoun comments he's made, because he clearly loves his daughters and his family, and she's non-binary, and she doesn't, like, I don't think he actually believes them. I just think it's funny lines that he has thought of, but people genuinely think that that's the way that he thinks.
Sure, so but that, just because you have a black friend doesn't mean you can say the N-word. Like,
well, I've been told I'm allowed to. Actually, I have the card. I laminated it. I have. Do you need me to go get it?
Anthony, I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Whenever y'all are ready.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I mean, so I'll kind of back up to my like history with Eminem, because this album made me reflect a lot about just my history with listening to his music, because, you know, back in 2003, 2001, 2004, that kind of time period, I saw Eminem as this quirky, goofy, funny, wild child, like caricature, you know, Slim Shady, right? And like me in that frame of mind as a, you know, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, it didn't attract me in a way that like I really devoted myself to his music. I thought it was funny, and I thought it was good, and I thought it was, you know, as is a product of something he put out there. But now listening to this album, so Thursday night, it dropped on Thursday, right? Thursday night.
Yeah, perhaps. So 11 o'clock your time, Thursday.
So I went to go see Longlegs in theaters Thursday night. So I was in this state of mind of just consuming what somebody was putting out, being, you know, the director of Longlegs, and just kind of immersing myself in that experience. So I was primed to take in something like this for just face value. You know, like I said, I'm not a crazy devoted Eminem fan, but I do have a history, and I do have like at least somewhat knowledge of Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady, and that kind of concept together. So like taking this album in as a whole thing was definitely a ride for me, as far as like an emotional ride, because I tried to see what was he doing here, you know, and it definitely did feel like I'm just going to leave no stone unturned from this Slim Shady persona. You know, we know I would I'd love to have a conversation with someone who really thinks he feels 100% of the lyrics that he's saying. You know, I mean, I don't think any artist does, but the fact that he's putting it out there, the way that he's putting it out there, I think it's just a creative way. You know, like there are, we could say disses to other artists in here, but I just call them references. You know, I mean, like he's just referring to all this culture stuff that's out there, you know, and I think that you could pick apart line for line, but like you can't do it while you're listening to the track in real time because it's just too much to keep up with, you know. And I think that if somebody wanted to, you know, light their torches and try to like throw some shit on the fire, it's like, yeah, there's infinite things you can point out here to say, oh, he's transphobic, he's homophobic, he's racist, he's a bigot, he's a violence, he's a woman beater. You know, it's like there's infinite things he can go through. But the way this album is put together for me feels like a deep breath in the middle of this album, you know, to say, all right, there that is. Now I'm going to tell you why I did this or how I did this, or just reference the stuff that I've already done from this other persona. And to me, that's just such an interesting thing to do creatively, because this album is like, it's just meta. I mean, that's the only way I can try to describe it to someone, you know.
Very
like,
meta.
Coming from Eminem, he's always been this kind of like I said, this kind of caricature of the just culture of the world that we live in. But this to me felt like something that definitely took a lot of time and effort to put together. And the release strategy was it's so what I wanted it to be, because listening to it on Spotify when it dropped, I had no idea any features, right? Didn't even know track lengths, honestly. I just kind of let it go and tried to like bridge things apart. But like, this was just a fun ride, you know, because it became a puzzle that I was like, shit, who is that? I don't even recognize this voice, or is that fucking, you know, it's like, it was just such a fun experience for me that had me on an emotional ride. And like I said, the context for me was perfect. I was coming out of a movie. It was dark, not a lot going on. I already had this kind of like mindset to be ready to take something like this in. And dude, it fucking hit me. Like, I mean, Temporary, you could point at those lyrics, but dude, this guy was fucking crying, you know. And like when when something like that hits an emotional vein, like it's undeniable for me. And like there are things that I don't like about this album and things I love, but like that moment for me was so much bigger than music, you know. And like that song will get better until the day he dies, you know. But like, again, from a father standpoint, from a, you know, I see the big picture, and it just like, it comes full circle. It just feels full circle to me, having not been devoted into his music, you know, throughout this time period, but it just felt like that.
I will say, I love the thing that people are doing on Spotify now, and I don't know if it's their choice or not, but not showing the features is the best shit ever, because you listen to albums and don't realize like what is coming until it happens. And like, I love that, because I knew there was a JID song, but I couldn't remember which one it was because I had seen it prior to that. And then when it came on, I was like, oh fuck, we're in for a ride, you know. But Trey, I want to say one thing, and this is not, I want to hear what you think about this, because I thought about Trey a lot listening to this album. I think one, because I
about you a lot too, right?
Y'all are so cute.
I think one, because I knew he was coming on the podcast, but two, also because I didn't expect his reception to be good. But I was thinking about when you texted us and told us that, I was kind of thinking like, because my friends, like I posted on my story and y'all didn't see it, but I had like basically a collage of, I swear to God, like 6 or 7 friends of mine texting me about the album, being like, this is insane, I can't believe this is so good, whatever it was. Like, they were so excited about it. And when Trey told me that, I was like, I was trying to conceptualize like how all of my friends like it and Trey doesn't. And so then like, this is the theory I landed on, Trey, and I want you to hear me out here.
I love this has become about me, by the way.
I think that you like a few Eminem albums, but you don't like Eminem. And the reason I say that,
I didn't realize that until I listened to this album.
Yes. And the reason I say it is because Renaissance is a song straight out of the Eminem show. Brand New Dance is an encore song. Habits,
I got that reference.
Yeah. Lucifer is a Relapse song. Yeah. Habits is a Marshall Mathers LP song. Like, this album is so many of his, it's so many of his albums put into one. that it made me realize, like, I think Trey has 2 or 3 albums. Like, I know you like Recovery, and I'm sure you like MMLP or the Eminem Show, but I'm like, I know Trey likes some Eminem albums, but I think as a whole, he doesn't like Eminem, because this is nothing like he's put out. Like, it's not like Kamikaze. It's not like Music to Be Murdered By. Like, it's very much a throwback. And I thought, like, if Trey doesn't like this, maybe he just doesn't like Eminem as a whole, which is fine. But I think that's kind of where I landed with
I think it's more like this. First off, Anthony, I want to talk about you having the father perspective. You don't have anything to tell us, do you?
No, just dog father over here.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Respect. Right.
No, my sister's got 2 twins.
Yeah,
My
she
sister's got
does.
2 kids.
I got a nephew dog.
We all got nephews. We're all it's uncle party.
Anthony casually drops a bomb on us. He's like, "Yeah, as a father of 3, that song really resonates."
We are. Yeah, it's Uncle Crew. So what it more so is for me, and like this sounds so douchey, but I'm gonna say it anyway. where I'm at now in my life versus where I was when we were like growing up, as far as just like I'm not angry at the world anymore like I used to be.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of what the Eminem draw is, and like that's a lot of what like it plays off of, especially like these tracks, dude. Like, I mean, they're just so aggressive, and like I just don't want to listen to that type of music anymore.
That's totally fair.
So
that's
I don't think it's that I've never liked Eminem. I think it's just like now that's just not what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
But I mean, but the nostalgia factor, like of Recovery and like Guilty Conscience too. And do you want to just hop right into top 3? I feel like it's a good segue, actually.
Yeah, let's go into top 3.
Cool. Yeah. So I have Guilty Conscience 2 as my number 1, and one of those reasons is like I remember me and you rapping Guilty Conscience. Like that's honestly one of my favorite memories in all of like recorded music. Like
same.
It was so
100%.
much fun. We could probably do it right now.
Yeah,
What
without even
album
turning
is
it
that
on. It's on the Slim Shady LP.
Yeah, but me and Blake, when we were like in high school and college, would like do like I was Dre and he was Eminem. We would do like the parts.
Hell yeah.
100%. It was the best.
We did it all the time. It was great. But Guilty Conscience 2 is really good. I will say, like, for the concept of the album, I probably would have liked this. Like, if he'd have done like 3 like Slim Shady tracks at the beginning and then put this as like track 4 or 5 and then done more like Eminem, more, you know, bars and shit like that rather than just being like edgy, I probably would have liked the album a lot more.
Yeah.
But I do think as like because Guilty Conscience 2 is the pivot point, right?
Yeah.
And I like as a pivot point song, I think it works really, really well.
That's very fair.
The JID track is fucking awesome. The JID track is so good, I stopped listening to the album and went and listened to the last JID album.
Nice.
See, like I don't even know JID, but I almost thought it was Kendrick. You know, I was like, I don't know if you know, Trey. I'm not a fan of Kendrick and his alien voice. Like
the alien voice,
and like it gave me shades of alien voice. So I got real nervous. I even wrote Kendrick ? But was comforted to find out is some other guy I just don't know anything about him.
I think you would probably really like the
That
Forever
was
Story.
Fuel, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Fuel. You would really like the Forever Story. It's got a lot of like jazz, a lot of like jazz type beats on it. I thought the beat was really sick. I think Eminem was the producer on that. Did he produce the whole record?
No, he didn't, but he did produce that song.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. I thought that song was really good. And then Head Honcho. I don't know who this Easy Mill dude is. I can translate it. It says that first verse is in Filipino. I'm just going to trust Google on that.
Yeah.
Because reading it, like, listen, I would be very, very transparent here. I don't know shit about other languages. Like, I kind of speak Spanish. But, like, I thought it was Arabic. Like, I was just reading it, and I was like, yeah, they translated Arabic characters to English characters. This Easy Mill dude must be some type of, like, Hispanic Arabic.
World
He
gangster.
he must be a world gangster. He's definitely a gangster, though. That fucking album, or that song is so tight. I don't know what the fuck he's saying during it, but it just sounds
either. It's so
great.
good though.
It's
He's
so
fucking
good.
riding that beat, dude.
He's just riding that beat like a race car.
What's so funny is Amanda goes, because she listened to the whole album and she liked like a few songs of it, and she was like, what's that song where like that guy is speaking that language that sounds like Spanish? And I was like, head honcho, and she's like, that song's so good. It's like interesting. Okay.
Dude, there's something about summertime and like some type of, you know, like other language and like a worldly beat that just makes my shoulders want to, you know, pop off.
Just loosens all the joints.
Yeah, just loosens me up. But those are my top three. So Fuel,
Nice.
Guilty Conscience 2,
Head
and Head
Honcho.
Honcho.
I do want to say I love the end of Guilty Conscience 2 when he's basically apologizing to everybody that he's had beef with. He says, I'm welcoming you to my last hurrah. I bid you goodbye. Murder, suicide, kill shot, booyah, cocksucker, coup de grâce, motherfucker. He says Gross to coup de grâce, motherfucker. So good. All right, Anthony, what do you get?
Yeah, he drops that coup de grâce line throughout the album too, which I would be interesting to dig into a making of this album or try to, you know, kind of pinpoint the timeline of this, because when was the last album he put out? How long ago?
2021.
Oh, that's not that long ago.
Yeah, not long.
So I don't know if you guys remember this, but the Super Bowl 2022, there's an ad with Eminem for, I don't remember what the ad was. Oh, it was for the halftime show, and the ad is him as Eminem and him as Slim Shady, and they're taking a bunch of digital words and putting them together, and they're going back and forth. So I think he started working on this album back then. I'm assuming, like, if he was dropping hints like that back then, that's when he started it. But, you know, who knows? Like I said, it could have been years in the making.
Gotcha. So for my top tracks, number 3, I've got Evil. It is a dark track. I mean, I think this Shady persona is obviously dark, but it just has a nice, just spooky hook to me.
The hook is great.
Evil. So
Yeah.
I mean, and that's like there's things throughout this album that, like I said, I really enjoy, and some of it's the hook, some of it's just the way Eminem raps. You know, like I didn't have the lyrics the first listen through, so I was just kind of just going off stream of consciousness, and that is something that really does draw me into Eminem as an artist, is just the way he performs and the way like he enunciates his sounds and the way he chops it up or the way he slows it down. So it was like that song really felt like just a spooky kind of vibe to me. Guilty Conscience 2, I fucking love that song. I mean, like this album builds to that apex, and I think it is such a I've said before on the podcast, like I'm a huge fan of back and forth rapping or singing or just vocals back and forth, where it's in tandem or it's like a conversation. And this track is basically like therapy in song form, you know, whether he's, you know, shedding an alter ego or whatever, you know, harping back on stuff he's already said throughout the album. It just felt bigger than music. You know, like I said, it is so meta, and that track really kind of like pinpoints it for me. And then let's see. Yeah. And number 1 is Temporary. Like I said, dude, there's a way this album builds, and like you said, it is aggressive and it is hard. And then there's a lot of different kind of beat styles. Like you said, it felt like a time machine going back and listening to almost like D12 like tracks, you know? And but when that piano comes into Temporary, it just pumps the brakes for me. And like when you're in a flow state and something does that, and then he starts dropping bombs of like Haley as a child vocals, that it's like, dude, like
the audio from his home recordings of him and Haley was like, it was gut wrenching to me.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I can't fucking listen to this.
Yeah, you know, and like to you know, like I said, don't have kids, so folks out there, you can rest assured
that we know of.
We're good. But the idea of creating music for somebody to listen to at a certain point in time, or to have there, if ever, is like so, you know, it's massive. Like it's so just like intentional, but like I said, it just floored. It fucked me up. I mean, it played up, fucked me up, you know. And like I listened to it again after the album, and it did it again. So I'm like, oh my god, this is something that like I have to be careful when I touch this, because I don't want to lose that feeling that I had the first time I listened to it. But like, shit, dude, the day he passes, that song's gonna be just wrecking everybody, you know. But like I said, it did what I wanted it to do. Was this album took me on a journey, and that moment right there is something that like plays on a loop in my head. She hasn't said anything. Is she in the public eye at all? Haley?
No,
podcast,
she does have a podcast, but like up until like 2 years ago, she very much was not. And there was some. It was so funny. There were some pictures that came out at her wedding. She got married this year, and Eminem was there, and he was in fucking Jordans. He was in like black Jordans in his tuxedo, which I thought was really funny. Everyone was like, "Is this dude wearing Jordans?" But she stayed relatively out of the public eye. But I think it is like, I think a lot of people forget. Like, what? Can you hear me? You said, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, you're good.
You scared me.
Good.
I think a lot of people forget, like, he almost died, right? Like, before Relapse in 2008, like, he was on his deathbed. And I think these songs, when you know that about him, hold a whole new emotional weight of the fact that, like, he did make it out and he's still alive. So, yeah, very, very intense.
Emotional. I want to give an honorable mention to Habits. Dude, you're sampling South Park. Salute. You know,
I knew you were gonna love that.
I heard that. I was like, oh,
first track
right up there.
I mean, like Renaissance is a good intro, but Habits is like the first, like, here we go. And like when I heard fucking Stan Marsh, I was like, what? Or no, Randy Marsh. And I was like, what? And then another sample came out towards the end of the track, and I'm like I'm in. You know, so like you want to hook me? Sample some shit that I watch daily, and see where it goes. So
Before I get into my top tracks, Trey, I want to know what you thought about on Renaissance when he says, when he's going on the rant and he says, Kendrick album's cool, but it didn't have any bangers. Wayne's album or Ye's couldn't tell you which one was lamer. And then he says, you nerdy pricks would find something wrong with 36 Chambers. It's what they do to the greats, pick apart a Picasso and make excuses to hate. How did you feel about it? Did you see that people thought that he was dissing Kendrick Lamar in that?
I did not see that people were that stupid.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like what Andy was talking about earlier. Like, I know, like, none of this is how he, like, actually feels as a person. That it's like it's a caricature.
Yeah.
I thought that bar was great. There's some great bars scattered in those tracks that are full of hate and bile, for sure.
But I mean, like, it's not like, okay, well, so
it doesn't. It's how it resonates with people, and there are people out there that's not how they see it. They're not like, oh, like, haha, like he's making fun of fat people, but he really doesn't feel that way. Like, haha, he's being transphobic. There's people that are like, yeah, fuck fat people, like, fuck Caitlyn.
True.
Like, that's a lot. That's what
were they already like
majority. I feel like, yeah, it is, but it's still a soundtrack for them to listen to bump and feel like validated in their ideas.
Okay. Well,
I don't want to take it. I don't want to take it to that level. Like,
no, I mean, no, that is very, like, relevant, and I think, like, that's what was so funny to me. Amanda and I were talking about this earlier. Like, it's so funny to see the MAGA people, like, get really excited about this album, but then they get like two more. But then they get like 2 more tracks in, and he's shitting on Candace Owens and like Donald Trump and whoever else, and then they're like, "Wait, is he on my side or is he not?" Like, I don't understand. You know?
He's still more on their side, from their
perspective. Right? Yeah. No, and I totally
big week for those folks.
Yeah.
But okay. Don't you think, like, I know we're going down all these roads and it's super fun, but like, don't you think there will always be people who misinterpret fucking art, you know, in a way that makes sense to them and their hate and their negativity and bullshit?
Yes, but I think Eminem has a unique ability for a couple reasons. One, he's
white.
Two, and I mean this, like, he enunciates really, really well. You can clearly understand everything that he says, which, like, they take that and you like,
you have to remember their reading level is not very high, like their comprehension, so they need it to be enunciated.
You have to talk like this almost in rhythm to be able to get there.
Ben Shapiro type of dialogue.
I mean, Ben Shapiro, listen, I don't like the guy, but motherfucker can talk.
He can enunciate like a motherfucker, dude.
He can enunciate like a motherfucker. But he does. He it's very clear for people that, you know, are like that. They can pull those things and Instagram out little, you know, snippets of the lyrics, and sure, they're taking them out of context, but they're gaining traction in that way. Whereas, you know, like, think about like Rage Against the Machine. Like, sure, Paul Ryan said that his favorite band was Rage Against the Machine. Not back just now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Paul Ryan back in 2012 when he was John McCain's running mate said that his favorite band was Rage Against the Machine. And sure, but like, you know, Paul Ryan couldn't point to a line where Rage Against the Machine said, you know, like,
right,
fuck gay people. You know, whereas Eminem has that in his catalog. So I think it's just a little different. That's all.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, so my top tracks, man, this was really... So I got to tell you, I did something, Anthony's going to be so proud of me. When the album first came out, I put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
No, you
Amanda
didn't.
went to sleep. I literally sat in the dark. I'm going to send you guys the pictures later.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
sat in the dark with the album pulled up on my screen and just clicked play. I did not engage. I didn't text anybody. I didn't go on the internet. I didn't talk to anybody. Amanda was asleep. Like, I just listened to it. And then I turned my phone on. I listened to it in reverse. And then, like, over the last couple days, I threw it on shuffle or whatever.
You mean
So
like
I
the tracks from back to front.
from back
not
to
like
front, yeah.
Playing backwards.
I didn't upload it into a system and then play them in reverse.
Okay, cool.
Now, I want to say something though. On that note, if you go see Longlegs, there are hidden messages in reverse throughout the score of the film. So just put a pin in that.
All right, that's fair.
Okay.
Just because you mentioned that, I mean, it's relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's relevant.
Yeah. So my top track. So number 3 to me, Lucifer, dude. Lucifer. Dre produced Lucifer, and goddamn, when that beat comes in, it's so relapse, so head bob, and I gotta say. You told us to write down lyrics we liked, Anthony, and I have a few of them, but one of my favorites is in this song. He says, "Yeah, they listen to me like when Manson spoke. They say I don't know struggle no more. That's a joke, bitch. The fucking elevator in my mansion's broke." I fucking love that line. It's so funny, and it's a callback to Relapse because he has a song called Elevator where he talks about his elevator breaking. So I just thought like such a nice callback to that song.
I got one from that track too. Just while we're here, put that shit to bed like Amber Heard at a mattress firm.
I love that line. I did really like that line.
I mean, you know, it's like that's the thing. Like you get stuck in the comedy of it all.
Yeah, it is really funny. Number 2 for me, Bad One. So I don't know who White Gold is, but White Gold does the chorus for Bad One, and he does the chorus for Habits. And man, this guy can kill a fucking chorus, but there's a lot of really like just good lines in it. But man, it's such a like dance song. It's such a bop. Like I can just picture, and I told a number of people, when you get the Fuel and when you get the Bad One, text me because I want to know your reaction to it. And Bad One is just like right at the end, and it just, I don't know, I can get down to it. So I really like that song. And then number 1, I got a few honorable mentions, but number 1 is Fuel. I mean, look, and I'm gonna say, this is a really hot take. This is a really hot take. I think our boy JID has the best verse on the whole album. The JID verse, first off, do you know how hard it is? Okay, let's just run through the list. Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Benzino, Bizarre, all these people who have come at Eminem, have featured on songs. Nobody has gone toe-to-toe with this guy like JID just did in this album. Give this man his flowers. One of the best out right now, okay? I have listened to this song 30 fucking times. Dude, I couldn't even finish the album. I had to restart Fuel, and then I got to the end, and I was like, I gotta keep going. But then I thought, I've already heard Toby. I've already heard Houdini. I can skip those songs. Let me play it again. And I just am letting this shit rip, dude. JID, all praises, all hail to JID. One of the best. And man, that song, the production on it, the verses on it, JID, Eminem, they both brought their heat to this song. So I will never get tired of it. It is hands down the best to me. And
Anthony,
then
a little podcast history. Sorry to cut you off there.
No.
The Forever Story is the first album that this podcast ever reviewed.
The first one?
The first one we ever did. We weren't
wow.
able to put it out because the audio sucked.
yeah.
I think didn't we re-record
Y'all did
it?
another
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, then we re-recorded it. But the first thing we ever did was we did the JID Forever Story.
Nice,
And-
nice.
Yeah, you're right, man. I mean, he's fucking amazing.
He's so good, dude. He's so
so
good.
good.
It's crazy. And then some honorable mentions. I just have to say, so Brand New Dance, the positive reception to Brand New Dance has told me the children yearn for encore, man. They want encore too, because that is an encore song. And on Twitter, people have been sending their high praises to Brand New Dance. And I thought it was very strange because I don't really love that song. Like, I think it's funny and it's good. It's very clearly an encore song, but like people love it, man. And I think that's really funny. And then Evil is on there as well, and Guilty Conscience too. So
Oh,
That's what I got. But let's get into bottom tracks, Trey. I'm sure you're stacked with ammo, so let us know.
I feel like I've gotten my opinion out, and I'll just go through my bottom tracks. So Road Rage. We talked about like Eminem's a caricature. Blake, you already kind of said this, but like I think that dude really dislikes people that are overweight.
He does.
It's wild. I know y'all love that Lizzo line. Like y'all, you and Blake, you and Christian.
Yeah.
I'm
over till Lizzo sings.
Yeah, I hope you didn't love it as much as they did, but I can tell that you might have. What is it? The Christopher Reeve song, Brand New Dance.
Brand New Dance.
Like, here's the thing: the whole song's dedicated to a guy that's dead, right? And it's not like Christopher Reeves is exactly in the forefront of the cultural zeitgeist. Like, if you ask,
for older folks, I think he was.
He was.
Yeah, for sure. For people that are like, Eminem's age, like 50 plus. Like this guy's been talking about this guy.
But
you want to talk about Dave Chappelle's been talking about trans over 6 years.
Okay,
he's talking about Christopher Reeves for 2 decades.
Here's the thing: Christopher Reeves died to ruin that song for them. Slim Shady said it in Guilty Conscience too.
That's not how death works. And his whole beef with that guy was always kind of weird to begin with.
Do you know why he has beef with him?
I genuinely don't. I would love to know.
I promise you in his own words, this is why this beef started. Because Reeves rhymes with so many things. I swear to God, that is why it started.
That makes sense.
And he says it in Relapse when they're like, when Paul's like, the guy's dead, right? And Eminem, like in one of the songs, is like, it's not my fault his name rhymes with so many things.
That's fair.
I would be curious to know if how do the references start? Does he start with the reference, or does he start with just fillers, that are like from pop culture? I mean, there's a lot of mystery, I would think, into the writing process. Unless there's not, there's probably some shit I'm missing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably a little bit of both, I mean, he probably it was looking for he said sleeves and was like, what rhymes with sleeves? Christopher Reeves. And just went down the rabbit hole. All right, Trey, what else you got?
I have my third one, and I don't really want to go into any details about this because Anthony, I really love you, and you said
Give it to me.
You said the song made you cry, but dude.
Oh, temporary. Come on, Trey.
For me, it's just like you put so much work into. Let me tell you why. I don't think the song itself is bad. I think the song itself is pretty good. I think it's a pretty cool concept.
It's a good song.
All right, it's a good song. But for me, it's the dichotomy of you put so much work into all of this like hateful shit, and then like your rhyme scheme for this song that you're like dedicating to your daughter is like very, not super strong. It's not terribly creative as far as like the imagery that you're painting. And the other part is like, man, you got other kids, right? Like, how are they going to feel when you die?
Haley's his only
named this song.
Haley's his only biological daughter. That's
why.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why.
So I'll pull that point back. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, I feel bad for this man. Like, I cannot imagine if my dad wrote a song called Rob and then he died, and then I'd be like, listen to that song.
What the fuck?
Like, damn, what the fuck did I do? You know?
Yeah. So Lainey is I don't know the dynamic of his other two children.
I thought Lainey was his biological child, but I clearly
no. Haley is the only biological, and then there's some weird relationships with the weird is not the appropriate word. That was kind of rude of me. There's some different relationships with them, but that's why.
All right. I think the song itself is good. It's more so just like I said, the difference between. I feel like a lot of work went into the other stuff, and then maybe not as much work when it went to talk about how much he loved his daughter.
That's fair. Anthony, what do you got?
Yeah. So, but on Temporary, I gotta go back because like the song is extremely simple. It's the most simplistic song on this album by far. But that being said, sonically, it's to me the most impactful because there's no drums, there's no extra to this. It's literally just sub bass kind of going and coming back and forth, and then Skylar Gray's vocals,
which were nice,
blend perfectly
for all the shit
with
that we talked about Skylar Gray, Blake.
I don't know shit about
Hey,
Skylar
you know
Grey.
why she's on the album? Because Eminem gave her hepatitis. He said it on the
Hepatitis A.
Yeah, hepatitis A. That's why.
Well, because Eminem did in Mockingbird. What album is Mockingbird on? Is that on Encore?
Encore, yeah.
Yeah, Mockingbird's great, and it's a similar concept where he's like rapping to Haley, but he's
Yeah.
kind of still in the midst of like being a drug addict and stuff.
Yeah.
Again, full circle. Haley's laced throughout all of his music, so like this being like felt good.
Haley
Felt
cute?
good. I don't know.
Huh?
I think
What did you say?
She's pretty.
Is Haley cute?
Yeah, she's pretty.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What's her deal? Oh, she's married.
She's married.
Yeah, right? Remember, what was he wearing? Black Jays. Jordans. Yeah.
Wait, I just want to say before Anthony gets into it. So I had to fact check myself because I was like, this is gonna be really embarrassing if I'm wrong. So Haley's his biological one. Elena is from Kim's sister. That's Kim's sister's kid, and then the third child, Stevie. Was born from Kim and her then boyfriend. So
Eminem just like taking care of him.
Yeah, I'm sure Eminem is like, I'm gonna go ahead and take custody of these people because I have the money and you're not a great person, so I'll go ahead and take control here. So,
Good for him.
all right, Anthony, what do you got?
I'll be quick. I don't have a lot. But Road Rage threw me off. The last 30 seconds of Road Rage really threw me off. There's a couple points throughout the album where like the last 30 seconds of the track could probably have been isolated into something else. But Road Rage was the one that really threw me off. The Bizarre one I liked. I liked that little interlude at the end of that track. I don't know. What song is that?
That's Antichrist.
Yeah. I wish more of the track had that in it. But my other thing, Blake, you won't like this, but the hook in Bad One.
Huh?
It just like... It was too loopy for me. Too loopy. So
that's fair.
That's the only thing. Just a hook and a beat here and there, but overall I had a good time with this.
I get it. So yeah, we're kind of 3 for 3 for this. Road Rage can go ahead and fuck all the way off. That song is horrible. And look, man, like I get it. Fat people like need to stop being fat or whatever the message of that song was.
Cannot eat anything and listen to this album.
Yeah, but
like call your ass out.
I just don't like. I don't think it's funny. I don't like the vibe of it. And like I said, I agree with him. Like, but it doesn't sound like he's joking. It sounds like he's mad. And like, so it's kind of just the tone. I don't like it. And then let me tell you something, Anthony. I'm sorry to say this. Eminem, I don't know if he was seeing heaven anyway, but he will never see heaven for letting Bizarre on Antichrist. That dude sucks fucking asshole. And you know what? He shouldn't be anywhere near a fucking mic. And I'm tired of Eminem feeling guilty and putting D12 people on his good songs. He ruined that fucking song, and I will never forgive him for that. And then
Jesus Christ Almighty.
Oh, something on Antichrist. Two things I want to mention because I'm looking at my notes and I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on this. There's a part in Antichrist where Eminem is rapping super fast, right? I wrote down speaking in tongues. Does that like...
Whoa.
Do you think there's intention into...
Going back to Healing Waters over here?
No, listen. Remember, I saw Long Legs that night, right? So
that's true.
Massive satanic vibes were already like implanted in me. But like, do you think Eminem is that conscious enough to have a track titled Antichrist? And he's obviously referring to Shady as that. To rap fast to simulate a speaking in tongues kind of like vibe, or is that me looking way too deep?
I wouldn't put that past him.
I wouldn't put it past him. Or another.
I feel like he's in his bag, bro.
Another option is all of us are so devoid of faith and religion that we can understand tongues, which I think is more and more accurate.
I like that as a
description of what is happening.
That as a much better description. That's way cooler. Hell yeah. Let's go with that.
And then my last bottom three is Toby, just because Toby to me doesn't feel like it fits on this album at all. Like, and I get that, like, that's basically right. Like, Head Honcho and Bad One still kind of sound like they're in theme with the album, and then Toby comes in and it very much sounds like a single. Also, Babytron is white, which really confused me because he doesn't sound like a white guy. Big Sean, I'm not a fan of. He has a good verse, which
I
is
was about to say, I
surprising
thought
to
the
me.
Big Sean verse was more than passable for
Yeah.
typically what he puts out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was
like, oh, this is kinda
enjoyable,
nice.
but yeah, I just don't think it really fits. So yeah, that's what I got for bottom 3. Is there any lyrics you guys want to highlight before we move on?
I'll ask you guys because we didn't mention this at all, but like this Jelly Roll sample closer, right? Bigger picture, somebody saved me from myself. Did it resonate with you guys, or did you not like it, or what are your thoughts on that? How to close it?
I already know Dre's thoughts on this song. Based on what he said about Temporary, I know his thoughts on this song.
Well, first off, I like Jelly Roll. I just want to point that out. I think he's kind of a pretty cool guy. Second off, I would say Jelly Roll is on the larger side.
Yeah, he's a fat guy.
He's a big guy, so I'm not really sure how him and Eminem got in the booth. Eminem
They like each other.
Eminem said you can record your verse across the country. Just send it to me.
Yeah, don't talk to me. Definitely don't send me a picture of yourself. I thought the Jelly Roll thing was cool. I thought it was fine.
I really liked the song. I didn't like Jelly Roll's chorus. Like it doesn't. I can't remember what my beef was with this, but like first off, Temporary and Somebody Save Me. I texted a friend of mine. I was like, could the man not just let us have our fun? Like, did he have to put in these like sad boy like songs to ruin my vibe? And I get why he did it. They have a place on the album, but like, come on, man. I'm trying to vibe. I'm trying to, but I didn't like his chorus. Like, it was honestly, and I like Jelly Roll. Like, he seems like a nice guy. His songs are good. He stands for a lot of great things. Like, I think he spoke in front of Congress about like opioid addiction and stuff. Like, seems like a good guy. Didn't love his chorus. So, it's kind of my thoughts on it. But Anthony, what you got any lyrics that you want to highlight before we move on?
I've said a couple. The P Diddy one is very creative to me. Like, he spells out RAPER, says something like, "Did he leave out a P?" Or what does he say? Leave out a P? Did he?
Yeah.
And it's like
Oh,
that is very creative.
Trey didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that. I didn't catch it because he's like he didn't. Yeah, because he was like he didn't leave out a P. Yeah, okay, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right,
So he says,
I mean,
the lyric is, I'm like an RAPEER, got so many essays. Wait, he didn't just spell the word rapper and leave out a P, did he? And that's the lyric.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like that to me, like I said, tip of the cap. Like from a writing standpoint, you have to funnel that into all the other stuff and say, all right, pros and cons. He's gonna shit on everything, but also in a creative way. So I'll take it.
So I have to highlight this one. So this is traveling in the time machine. This is the last thing I'm going to say because I know we got to move on to some other things. But so there's a line in Lucifer where he says, "Why can't you make fun of people behind their backs like a normal person? But when you reach these heights, freedom of speech dies." So let me tell you guys. I know Trey knows this. In the Marshall Mathers LP, there's a song called "I'm Back," and there's a lyric on that song where he says, "I take 7 kids from Columbine, stand them all in a line, add an AK-47, a revolver, a 9, a Mac 11, and that ought to solve the problem of mine. That's a whole school of bullies shot at all at one time." You cannot find that line uncensored anywhere. It does not exist because he recorded that album and released it shortly after the Columbine shooting. So there is no version of that song where those lyrics exist, but that was the original version of them. And they are blanked out on every form of this album, hard copy, streaming, iTunes, whatever.
What?
And yes, they do not, that does not exist anywhere. So go listen to "I'm Back" after this. But I think, to me, that was a callback to the fact of like, freedom of speech doesn't exist because I tried to do this and this is what they did to me. So I thought that line was really, really cool and a callback to that lyric.
Surely his label pulled it, right?
I don't know. I'm assuming his label pulled it, yeah, but they probably pulled it with at that time, you got to think back in 2000, 2001.
That was the first school shooting ever. Like, that was a horrible,
Yeah.
Now you can make a call about school shooting because it happens every other day. It really doesn't matter.
True. Exactly.
It's like, sure. What are you supposed to not talk about it?
Right. But I thought that was really interesting. But all right, let's get into rankings real quick. So I'll let you guys, Trey, you get to play the guessing game with Anthony. So let's go. So let's go Pitchfork first. Guess what Anthony, you can go first. Guess what they rated the Death of Slim Shady. Now, I will say they rated Recovery a 2.7 out of 10. So keep that in mind.
I like Recovery.
Anthony, what do you think they rated it?
I'm gonna play fair, middle of the road, and I'll say they give. I'll say they give this a 5.
Trey,
I'm gonna say they gave it a 3.2.
3.2.
So they gave it a 4.8. So Anthony was closer.
Wow.
Nice.
So this is still out of 10, right?
And yeah, still out of 10.
Okay, yeah.
And then Rolling Stone out of 5. What do you think they gave it, Anthony?
I'll say Rolling Stone gives him a 4 out of 5. I feel like Rolling Stone likes Eminem for some reason. So
Trey?
I'll say a 4.
I'm gonna say for that same reason, I'm gonna say they gave him a 3.
They gave him a 2.
That was my initial guess.
Wow.
That was my initial. I was initially gonna say 2, but you kind of talked me out of it a little bit.
All right. So with that said, Anthony, what is your rating out of 10, my friends?
So I've messed around with this rating for a little bit, and I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. And
Holy
it might be my
shit.
highest hip hop album,
Oh
but
my
I think
God.
if I wouldn't have experienced it the way I had experienced it, it would have totally affected everything. You know, like if I had listened to Lotus and Tribe and Billy Strings and Fish and then this, I would have, you know, like my palate was way out of whack, you know, but like I was in the darkness, you know, and like it was so perfect. And like I said, Temporary was the light in the darkness for me. So I was like, that song alone, like, just fucked me up to the point where I'm like,
Trey said it amplified my darkness.
Yeah. But so like I said, 9 out of 10 for me. There has to be a time and place for me to go back to this, but I listened to it again yesterday while I was cutting grass, just all the way through, and it feels good, you know. Like I said, I can read into anger and read into darkness and say, all right, I get what he's doing, and it not like affect my day. But shit, this one was fun for me, man. I was glad, and it felt like a full circle trip for me. So 9 out of 10.
Very nice. I'm shocked. Trey, what do you got?
Pitchfork.
3.
He's got to think about it.
3.
Just 3. No further analysis.
I don't know, man. I feel like I just feel bad. You guys asked me to come on the podcast.
No, this is what it's about.
I know, but you know, and you guys liked it. You just gave him a fucking 9. Anthony's Blake's at least an 8.5. So yeah, I gotta say 3. It made me sad because I was like, damn, like I don't think I like Eminem. Like what you said earlier was spot on because I never had that realization before.
Yeah. And I don't think that's a problem, you know? I think like, and here's the thing, I will tell you guys before I get into my rating, like, you don't understand being a stan the past 10 years. I'm telling you guys, this is the first time I have ever seen a reception this positive to an Eminem album since the Marshall Mathers LP2. I went to the gym the other day and someone was playing it in the fucking parking lot. They were playing Eminem in the parking lot out loud to where people could hear it. You don't understand. I have never heard that, ever. Like, the fact that I am finally at a point where my friends and random people are appreciating it. I'm so happy. And so, like...
What do you mean? He's one of the best-selling artists of all time.
Yeah, but, like,
he's not alone anymore. Stan's not alone.
The trend over the past 10 years, like, you know, like, you've been on the internet, like, the trend through Revival, Kamikaze, Music to be Murdered by has always been just like a back and forth. He sucks. No, he doesn't. Blah, blah, blah. Like, this is the first time in a long time I felt like the general reception has been like, I really like this album. So even though you didn't like it, like, it was still good to hear why you didn't like it and to have you on. And also, like, we'll always have our guilty conscience memory, you know. You can't take that away, no matter what, you know. So,
I work with a girl who named her son Marshall. She is a very big.
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
I won't say her name because we work together, but
yeah, that's fair.
We have a meeting on Monday that I'm like an optional member to. It's like doesn't really have anything to do with me, but I knew she'd be in there. It's like a small group, so we make like small talk. And I was like, "Hey, how'd you like the Eminem album?" She was like, was amazing.
Nice.
So like, I think you're absolutely right when it comes to like critical or fan reception, rather.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I will say, I think it's an 8. You know, I think surprisingly, Anthony rated it higher than me. Like it's phenomenal. Like the fan service is great, and as a huge Eminem fan, like I love it. It's great to me. There are some things I would leave out. I think, like you said at the beginning, the Caitlyn Jenner lines. Like I get it, man. You know, that was years ago. I'm kind of over it, but and I think like there are some songs that don't belong on this album while they are still great. Temporary and Somebody Save Me are great. Toby is a good song. I think they're kind of out of place here, but you know, still loved it, still enjoyed it, and I'm glad that you know the people around me are enjoying it. So, and I'm glad that we had this conversation. It was a really good one. So, all right, let's get into rides or dies. Trey, intro, tee us up. What do you got?
All right, so the song that I selected, I've been listening to a lot of bluegrass recently. Been listening to a lot of love songs recently.
I don't think that's a new thing. I don't think that's new for you.
No,
love songs.
that part's not.
You're a mountain man, right? You're a little mountain man now.
Yeah. So this song's called "Appalachian Girl." It's by what's the name of that band? You have it in front of you. I can see it's like a long.
Pert near Sandstone.
Pert near Sandstone. I stumbled upon. I was kind of making this little playlist, and I think it's really good. Can y'all play music now or no?
We have not figured out how to do that, so I'm not going to do it. I'm listening to it, but I'm not going to play it out loud.
Welcome to sing a line if you like.
I'm good. How did y'all feel about it?
Anthony, you got it. What do you think?
I liked it. You know, I mean, I got what you're going for. Again, driving through the mountainside, countryside, good feeling banjo music. You know, music like this for me is obviously meant to be heard outside, and that it breathes really well. So I enjoy it. I get your vibe.
Thanks, bro.
This is very Asheville music right here.
Yeah.
This is what I like. If you were to tell me, like, if you were to put into one of the 17 different AI things they have now and type in Asheville, North Carolina, could you create a song? It would spit out this song.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the vibe I got here. But you know what? Every once in a while, I need those crunchy vibes, brother. I just need to light some incense and just take my shoes off and just put on some short shorts and just let it ride. And so, you know what? At the time of listening to this, because I've been listening to nothing but Eminem for the past 96 hours, it was a little rough, but I do appreciate it and enjoy it. So I'm going to give it a ride.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. You know, I'm going to be sober 30 days tomorrow. And I've been outside a lot. Thank you. I've been outside a lot, and this is just kind of this is the vibe right now. It's summertime.
Yeah,
goes down.
Perfect. All right, Anthony,
outside.
Intro us. What do you got?
All right, so this track is by a band called God is an Astronaut. It's this post-rock, progressive rock band that I just discovered. I've got a handful of these progressive bands that I've discovered over the past like 6 months that I've been just going deep into, and this is one of them. This song called "Remember and Stay." You typically for progressive rock you have to earn this point of the album, meaning like you listen through the album and it delivers to this point. But I wanted to give y'all a taste of it. It's I think a beautiful way to use a piano to build into a climax. So like it's a fun ass track for me. The album's amazing, but wanted to get y'all's opinion. So what do you think about it,
Trey?
I'll be honest, I had to re-listen to this right before we hopped on because when I listened to it the first time, I ended up listening to the whole album. Because I didn't remember which one you picked. I really like this. This song specifically sounds like if Aphex Twin was in a band.
There you go.
Like almost like some Avril 14 type like keys. I've been kind of listening to it a little bit more like I would call this almost math rock. It's like prog. Yeah. It's sick. I really enjoyed it. Great choice. You sent me that band Toe the other day. Like it's kind of right up that alley.
That's another band that came out with an album on that day. So add another one to your list of albums for that day.
Will do.
Anthony, you know that You know that I have issues with the songs that start one way and dramatically shift to another thing and shock me / scare me. And I think that's what this song does about 2 minutes into it, and the vibe dramatically shifts. And here's the thing, if you do a vibe shift 30 seconds in, that's fine. You know, I haven't settled into the vibe. I haven't settled into the tone, you know? I can handle the shift. When you're 2 minutes in and you're going piano and then all of a sudden all these instruments start coming in, it fucking throws me off. And I'm like, shadow boxing trying to figure out where I am, you know? And so for me personally, it's a dies, but only the second half of the song. The first half of the song, very much a ride. It's kind of on par with Trey's, right? Like I need to chill out after like, you know, hearing about how fat people are bad. And I'm just gonna throw this song on and just listen, you know. So not all in all bad, but it's a dies for me at this current moment.
All right,
So
maybe it's context. We'll kind of chalk it up to Blake still needs some time to marinate on some progressive rock, so we will get back there. I promise you that.
Or math rock. We haven't
Math
determined
rock?
which one it is.
Yeah, scary rock.
I'll send you my Yang Gang playlist named after Andrew Yang because he wore those little math buttons when he ran for president.
Yes. Okay. So my song was "Phone Went West" from My Morning Jacket, and let me tell you, I had not stopped listening to the Death of Slim Shady for about 3 days, and then Jordan sent me a clip of the American Dad episode where Stan gets really into My Morning Jacket. It's called My Morning Straight Jacket. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. And so you know what? I was like, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna throw on my Morning Jacket playlist, and I'm just gonna listen to Jim James just bring me there, brother. And so I chose Phone Went West, and it's off of, I believe, Trey, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's their very first album. At Dawn
is their first record.
Yeah, from 2001. And so, look, man, My Morning Jacket, Jim James, special place in my heart. I will say, I think if you get me the right amount of drunk, I will tell you, if you ask me what the greatest band in the world is, that it's My Morning Jacket. I don't know how much I believe that, but there is a piece in my heart that really believes that. And I've said it before. I know I've said it before. So I fucking love these guys, man. And Jim, there's no voice like Jim James. Nowhere in the world, no one sounds as good as he does. So what do you guys think? Anthony?
I mean, good as he does maybe is a stretch, you know, but definitely distinct voice, you know. Like I'm not versed in My Morning Jacket, but this song,
Trey's leaving. That's how much you
Trey's
just upset him.
I haven't even got there yet. No, what I'm getting at is this song is very familiar to me. So I think I've heard this live at Bonnaroo,
probably.
And I just kind of did some research in 2015 to see if I was there at the same time, and I was. But like, this song seems familiar to me, so it gets a ride from me. Like I said, I don't dislike it. I don't know My Morning Jacket.
Oh, brother.
But, hey, bro, I sent you the shirt, so I'm like, hey, whenever you're ready, bring it on. I'm open to it. I'm not scared of it, you know, even if I don't understand it or even if it changes halfway. I'm okay with that. So,
sorry, didn't mean to dig at me, but I appreciate. Trey, what do you think?
First off, Jim James has the voice of a goddamn angel.
Yeah,
probably the best voice in the history of jam bands. Outside of Jerry Garcia, I want to make sure that gets heard.
All right, relax. I told Jordan, I said, I think if you died and there was a heaven, that every angel would talk like Jim James.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim James is awesome. This song is definitely a ride for me. Great choice as far as My Morning Jacket songs go. I wouldn't be a pretentious douchebag if I didn't point out that there's a very, very good 20-minute version from, I think it's from Chicago, that's on Spotify.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And then also from the Bonnaroo, they put out that epic Bonnaroo set. That's like a Bonnaroo famous set.
Yeah, that was like 2003, right? I think.
Yeah, it's like a very well known, like late night, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. like epic set, and they put it out last year, and it's like a 20th anniversary thing, and it's on Spotify. You should definitely listen to that version of it as well.
They still tour and all that good stuff, and like, think it's hard to get, or
so. This is a fun Jim James fact for you. Jim James he did a solo tour, or he does solo tours. You know who his bassist used to be before she joined SCS9. His bassist was
way, dude. That's fucking sick. That's so sick. Hell yeah.
So they are on tour. They're going to be touring this fall. So Alpharetta in Nashville, 2 shows in Nashville, back-to-back nights.
You should go.
You gotta go. You gotta go, dude.
And you should eat some fungus of some capacity.
Yeah, we saw him 2022 Bonnaroo. We saw him, and JID interrupted their set, so I saw the first hour of it and then sprinted over to JID. Yeah, and it tore my heart apart, but let me tell you that JID set was worth it. Trey gets it. Anthony, you're not there yet. You will be. Don't worry.
You text me after you're like,
I'm not
what a
worried.
great decision.
100%. All right, so movie-wise, we got Baby Driver. Anthony, tell us why you picked Baby Driver.
Dude, I told you last week, I was like, I don't remember why I like this movie, but I need to go back and watch it. Upon rewatching Baby Driver, I realized I like every single fucking thing about this movie because it's like, it's literally me in an alter ego. You know, as far as like the whole movie score, the soundtrack is all of what's playing through Baby's earpods, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so many nods to music and music consumption from like an iPod, a radio, a turntable, a car stereo, jukebox. Like I'm just cassettes. Like it's striking every chord I want it to. There's tons of like artist references throughout this movie. There's a lot of action. It's not really, I mean, it's a heist movie, but you don't really have to look too deeply into the plot. But like the energy in this movie to me is contagious. Like it becomes an experience. And like Edgar Wright, the director of this movie, I come to find out over time, I had seen a lot of his movies like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, At World's End. Last Night in Soho is really good.
Last Night in Soho is so good,
you know?
dude.
So like I've come to find out I like a lot of his movies, but like for me, this just seemed like him doing what he wanted to do from a music appreciation standpoint. So for that reason, I wanted to bring it out again. But like filmed in Atlanta, Criminal Records record store is on display there. So like it just hits all these boxes that I like in life in movie form. So
Baby is kind of like you if you got mad bitches. Is
basically
basically what it is.
Baby's badass,
he pulls.
You know?
He pulls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, but also like the idea of like the movie starts with the tinnitus tone. And
which
like,
is sick.
I have tinnitus, right? I don't know if the world knows I got tinnitus. We all go to these fucking shows, but I wear earplugs.
Fucking Anthony has a kid and he has tinnitus?
Dude,
in
dropping bombs. Give Eminem a 9. And, yeah, this album.
Holy shit.
but like that just like it speaks to me on so many levels. So like again, this movie, like I said, it is like basically Edgar Wright said, I'm gonna write a movie for Anthony out of Birmingham and like just let him find it when he finds it. And like hell, I did, and glad I got back to it. And hopefully there's another Baby Driver. There's plans to do another Baby Driver. And I just want to see this concept again in a different format.
I'm assuming without Kevin Spacey. That way.
They're gonna make some Baby this time.
Kevin Spacey, you know, I mean, he's a fucking
and then there's
crazy
there's an extended edition where he's like, "Baby, you have to have sex with me." I don't.
There's a reason why he plays this role so well.
Trey, what did you think?
Luckily for me, you know, because I don't like spending time on doing stuff. I had just rewatched Baby Driver like not even 2 weeks ago. So when Anthony was like, I want to do Baby Driver, I was like, perfect, because I was just watching this movie. And the entire time I was like, God, this movie is so good. John Hamm is a bad guy.
Oh, dude.
Amazing.
The best.
Amazing.
The best.
I don't remember the love interest's name, but she's like the perfect, like, cute little Southern girl. Like, everyone that's in the movie.
Oh,
like,
Deborah? The waitress?
Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Songs about Deborah.
Yeah, songs about, yeah. I meant like I didn't know the actress's name, but yeah. But I also didn't remember her name in the movie either.
She's just Deborah to me.
Well, that's the thing about like the character names in this movie are all irrelevant. You know, you got like Buddy, Darling, Baby,
and it's fun. They kind of like play with that, right? And they play with this like criminal underworld that's like very like hardcore. It's Jamie Foxx is the other guy, right?
Yes, dude, so good, good.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx crushes it. And then, is this Kevin Spacey's last major film?
I think it is. I mean, like House of Cards, he was still doing, but I think that's the last film that he did.
I think it's the last film he ever did before he got.
But look, he kills it, man. Sorry, I hate to say it. Like,
dude, listen, you know how much I love Kevin Spacey. Yeah. Well, it's almost like it comes really natural to it.
This is what Eminem warned us about. We could have had more Kevin Spacey movies, you know?
Yeah, I guess I'm not going to co-sign on that. But what I will co-sign on is, the soundtrack too is super well done. The way they use like music in the movie is like almost its own character. Is
it's
really
a
cool.
figure, throughout.
Yeah, it's like a personified like thing. You like plugs it in, you like the mood changes, and love Baby Driver. Do we give rankings for movies?
No,
It's
but you
good as
can
fuck.
if you want to.
I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10
Hey,
to
fuck
that
yeah.
film.
Nice.
There's a concept that I like to just like highlight real quick because they bring it up in this movie because the whole movie's about music, and Jamie Foxx is like, what the fuck, he's not listening to shit, and but they bring up the concept of hex songs. So like the idea of I think Jamie Foxx might have mentioned it, or one of the characters mentioned it. They were going to do a robbery. They were going to do a job.
Dude, come on.
Sorry.
It's so on mic.
I leaned back. Sorry, keep going.
So they're about to do a job, and some song plays on the radio, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm not doing it," And like
that's right.
That to me is so there's so much awareness in that, and like because I've had that moment happen all the time throughout my life where I'm like either thinking about something or about to do something, and then something plays in direct reference to the thing that's about to happen, and it definitely influences my choice in real time. But again, to see it in movie form, it was just so like it was so reflective of my own just life experience. So this is it's just there's so much attention to detail throughout this movie. I love it.
I will say I'm going to take a different approach because you guys have talked a lot about the music. I will say, man, like I just love a driving movie.
Yeah.
Just a movie with cars and fast action and driving and drifting and fucking cop cars flying all over the fucking place and shifting and all this shit. Like we reviewed Ford versus Ferrari. It was phenomenal. I've watched Ferrari. I don't know if Anthony, you went and watched it, but I love a good car movie, man. I love a good heist movie. And like I used to go on these kicks where it was like I would watch a monster movie and I was like, I'm going to watch 5 monster movies. And then I'd watch like a heist movie and I'm like, I'm only watching heist movies for the next week. I just get on these kicks. And so Baby Driver really hits it. And who is that guy? What's the main the actor's name? I thought it was Edgar Wright, but then I realized that was the director.
Ansel Elgort.
Yes, Ansel. So he's kind of slept on. He's in Tokyo Vice, which is an HBO show, which is really, really good. And he does a great job. He speaks a shit ton of Japanese in that show.
Wow.
But
Wait, really?
Yeah, he speaks like almost exclusively Japanese, but it's a really good show. And he's a good actor. And I thought that, the movie is really entertaining. Jamie Foxx, John Hamm, Kevin Spacey, they stack the lineup for this, dude, and they all do such a good job. And Jamie Foxx, I forget that Jamie Foxx is like a great actor because you don't see him in much. And like, I guess he used to be a rapper for a little bit, but like, he's a great
actor first, right? And then was like, I'm gonna do a couple rap
He's
tracks.
just an entertainer.
Yeah. But he is great. So I thought, very, very good pick. So no further comments.
Also, great pick for a music podcast and pick this as a movie.
Hey, man. Well, also Blake and I are on a streak of, I don't know if you noticed this, Blake, but like we watched the Planet of the Apes trilogy. We did a Quiet Place trilogy. We did this all all have ASL, American Sign Language, in the films, which is just happenstance.
Yeah.
So like can't help but notice these trends as we kind of roll along.
So Trey, I think we got to go into next week's picks, and I think you're gonna want to come back when I tell you the movie because I know you like this movie. But Anthony, you got albums, so I get some guesses for the album, right? I get 3 guesses. All right, give me a hint. Give me one hint first.
You want your hint now?
Yeah, I want a hint now.
Okay. Trying to think of a hint to give you.
Give me genre
without giving it away. I'm just gonna say guitar.
That doesn't help me at all. All right. Let me try to narrow down artists. Is it
too?
Yeah, Trey, you got it.
No, you go first. You go first.
All right.
Trey's keying in.
Is it Stevie Ray Vaughan?
No.
All right, Trey.
Is it Buckethead?
It's Buckethead.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
How the fuck?
Just put it up on the wall earlier.
Yeah.
Damn it. Okay.
Well, and like when you think guitar player, That's like, say no more, right? Because I mean, this album is guitar and drums, and it's not my favorite Buckethead album. It is the Buckethead album I think Blake can take in without too much judgment or hatred or radical emotional decisions.
And you went to Trey before you picked the Tipper album to decide what album to bring me.
No,
you had to call in Trey and say, hey, what is Blake
talking
able
exactly what happened.
No, that came up naturally in conversation, and I told Trey, I said, I'm going to drop a Tipper album on Blake. And I was going to do Surrounded, and then Trey said Forward Escape, and I said, well, let's do Jettison, because hey, it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
yeah,
So you question my judgment, but what you're going to listen to is an album called A Real Diamond in the Rough by Buckethead.
Fuck yeah.
Like I said, most digestible for Blake. It's fucking, it will speak for itself. No
Very
vocals,
nice.
Blake, so don't be surprised if you're looking for lines, and you're not going to get no lines from Buckethead. We're going to talk a lot about Buckethead next week.
All right. Movie-wise, I will give you one hint. It is a Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Is it Prisoners?
Incorrect. Anthony, you got to guess?
Okay. Ambulance.
No.
I haven't seen
You
that.
should watch that. It's fucking good.
Trey, it looked like you were going to say one more thing. I know you know this movie, and I know you like it.
I got one more guess after.
I really wanted it to be Prisoners. Because I love Prisoners.
But now I got that in the back pocket. Now I got that in the back
What
pocket.
is it? I don't know.
Wait. I'll say Donnie Darko.
No, I'm going new age. We're going Nightcrawler, baby.
Oh,
hell yeah.
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, we're going Nightcrawler on the same theme of driving and intensity. And I think I'm gonna watch it tonight. I'm gonna make Amanda watch it and scar her for.
That movie is a panic attack.
Yeah,
it's great. I've actually been watching a Jake Gyllenhaal TV show called what's the name of that show called? It's something like Reasonable Doubt or something.
I didn't even know he did television shows, to be completely honest.
It's an Apple TV show. It's called Presumed Innocent. Let me tell you, man, Apple has gotten some very good original series.
See, and I can't bring myself to pay for Apple TV. That's why I'm missing this stuff.
I got it for free when I got my new iPhone, but so Presumed Innocent is really good. Then they also have the show they just came out with called Dark Matter. Which I'd actually read the book last year, and I've never seen this done before, but the author of the book is the showrunner and the creator, and it's really, really well done with a bunch of people that aren't like terribly well known.
Science fiction.
Yeah, it's super sci-fi. Yeah, you would really like it.
Yeah,
it's about like quantum superposition and like it's great. It's really good. Just check it out.
Hell yeah!
Fuck yeah!
That's my plug for
Dark Matter.
Hell yeah! Well,
come
ladies,
back if you want to. Trey.
Yeah, please, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. Trey, thanks for coming on, man. And you know what?
Yeah.
Despite being a hater, I thought the dynamic worked perfectly, and I'm glad that you came on. I'm mad at you for spoiling your position.
Aren't you glad now though that you kind of knew that's what it was going to go down?
True,
because the shock value would have made you upset, and
right.
since you knew,
I got to sleep on it. I got to sleep on it and kind of digest. Yeah, for sure.
That's a guy who knows you, Blake. So he loves you.
He
does. He does. All right, guys. Everybody, thanks for listening. Trey, thanks for being here. And Anthony, I'll see you next week. Everybody else, see ya.
Love you guys.
We'll do it. See ya.